What's up, everybody? Today's July 23rd, 2021, and in this video, we're going to do a deep dive into the numerology underlying the Milwaukee Bucks' first NBA championship in 50 years. Now, there's a lot to unpack in this video. What I want to get to ultimately is how this was a major moon riddle. So this year's lunar eclipse was a big factor. The Bucks won the NBA championship on the same date that Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos went to outer space. And this is a huge, huge part of the riddle that we'll get into in a little bit. And we'll check out the numerology of Drew Holiday and why he was added to the team. We're also going to take a look at the star of the Suns, Devin Booker, who was the primary, quote, sacrifice for the NBA Finals in Game 6. This guy has remarkable numerology connecting him to the sun, both the tarot, the magic square, all through his father. In fact, Devin Booker is the son of a former NBA player. The coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, Mike Budenholzer, his numerology plays a huge part of this, and we'll dig into the records for both Mike Budenholzer and Coach Monty Williams to see how this all played out. And again, we'll connect it to the moon landing, as the Bucks championship fell on July 20th. And July 20th is the anniversary of the moon landing. Notice how the first moon landing was in 1969, which is the same year that the coach of the Bucks, Mike Budenholzer, was born. Before we get into all this, however, we're going to talk about the passing of Giannis Antetokounmpo's father, Charles Antetokounmpo, back in the year 2017. This man died at the age of 53 of a heart attack. Of course, the headline here says 54, but this is actually incorrect. And there's a riddle involved with that as well. And I want to point out that Charles Antetokounmpo at some point changed the spelling of his last name. It says his birth name was spelled Adetokunbo. And, here's another case where not only was the date that he died, or the age he died at, reported to be wrong, but this is a guy who changed his name as well. So perhaps there was some intent with Gematria under this, but we'll take a look at this as we go. So the first thing to note is that, again, he was reported to have died at age 54, but he actually died at age 53. And think about how disrespectful this really is to the family to get a minor detail like this wrong. Giannis himself even confirmed that his dad was born in 64 in this video I have linked in the post. So we know that this 1964 birth date is correct. And here it shows aged 53. So there's really no reason they should have reported 54. Charles died in the city of Milwaukee on a visit to Giannis, and Milwaukee equals 53, like his age at death. By the way, before I go on, for anybody who says that I'm just doing this decoding after the fact and that I can do anything with numbers, the first link in the description below is to my live stream from July 5th. Where I explained the riddle as for why I thought the Bucks would win in Game 6. So this code is absolutely legit. I do this every championship. I go down and I break the numerology down, and I usually see things ahead of time. Moving on. Charles Antetokounmpo, born on August 3rd, 1964. Notice how this date has numerology of 75. And this is indeed a big number for this event. The date that Charles died also had primary numerology of 75 when you add 9 plus 29 plus 20 plus 17. This year's NBA Finals, won by Charles' son Giannis, capped off the 75th season in the National Basketball Association. 75. Again, the Bucks won on the anniversary of the moon landing and the same day that Amazon founder Jeff Bezos went to outer space. Jeff Bezos founded Amazon on July 5th, the date written 7/5, like how this wrapped up the 75th season of the NBA. Amazon.com was even founded in the year 94. Notice how Jeff Bezos equals 94, using the standard alphabetical order. And 1994 is also the same year that Giannis Antetokounmpo was born. 1994. The phrase total solar eclipse equals 994, and we'll talk about the eclipse code as we go along in this video. Total solar eclipse also equals 202. The word basketball also with this 22 gematria. And curiously, Giannis was born exactly 22 weeks after the founding of Amazon. The Bucks closed out the NBA Finals on July 20th of 2021. So we'll look at the numerology of this in a minute. But first, back to Charles Antetokounmpo, who died on a date with a life lesson number of 48. Using standard reduction, Milwaukee Bucks equals 48. Coach Mike Budenholzer was coaching his 48th playoff game with the Bucks when they won the championship. And on top of that, it was also his 48th career postseason win, so a double 48 in the numbers for Mike Budenholzer. And we'll explain all of these numbers as we go. Charles' death on September 29th, that's the date leaving 93 days in the year. And using the S exception, the name Charles Antetokounmpo sums to 93. And consider how significant of a number this is to the sun, which is an average of 93 million miles away. In fact, Devin Booker, as we will see later on, was a span of exactly 9,030 days old when his Suns lost the championship. One more thing about the name Charles, the name of Giannis's dad. In Jewish gematria, this sums to 207. And consider the date that the Bucks won the championship, the 20th of July, written 20/7. But this is where it gets really weird. The Bucks were not the only team in major professional sports named the Bucks to win on a date like 207. Because back on February 7th, another date that can be written 207, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. And do you possibly think it's a coincidence that the Buccaneers did not visit the White House for over 5 months after their win? And what date was that? That's right, July 20th, the same date that the NBA's Bucks won the NBA Finals. This is legitimate, straight-up mockery of the public, 90% of whom still seem to be too blind to understand that their precious sports are completely fixed by the numbers. So next we're going to look at a riddle involving the potential Great Reset that has been discussed by the world elite over the past few months, ever since the coronavirus pandemic began. In this video I referenced earlier, Giannis mentioned why he has the number 34, and he says it's because his mom was born in 63 and his dad was born in 64. So with the 3 and the 4, you get the 34. His brother Thanasis is also number 43 in a very similar fashion. But, of course, there's half-truths in everything. Maybe that has something to do with why he's wearing this number. But consider that Giannis was born on December 6th, which is the 340th day on the Gregorian calendar. And in numerology, with the 0 dropped, that would be the number 34. Furthermore, The name Bucks equals 34 in reverse reduction, and Giannis is, of course, the star of the Bucks. Another word that sums to 34 is murder. 34 in standard reduction. The word murder also equals 83 and 38. Charles Antetokounmpo was born on the date August 3rd, which can be written 8-3 or 3-8. If you measure from the date that Charles Antetokounmpo died to the date of his next birthday, you get 308 days. And on top of that, look how old his son Giannis was. 8,333 days old. So some pretty strong alignments there. But back to the number 34, which is very integral to this. The 34th prime number is 139. And a couple of years ago, I made this post about Aaron Rodgers, who became part owner of the Milwaukee Bucks back in 2018. He was at the game and announced as part owner of Bucks franchise. Well, look how old Aaron Rodgers was on that date. 34 years, 139 days, which is a tribute to this prime number relationship between 34 and 139. So this was coded into the death of Charles Antetokounmpo, who died exactly 1,390 days before Giannis won the NBA championship in Milwaukee. Notice how the word America equals 139, just like Freemasonry. We'll get more into this America riddle in a minute. Freemasonry also equals 158, and the 158th prime number is 929, like the date September 29th, which is when Charles Antetokounmpo died. The number 929 is also the Jewish value of United States of America. And understand, this is a riddle connected to the dollar, the Great Reset. The Bucks lost to the Phoenix Suns. And you may recall, I think it was the 1988 Economist cover, where we had a warning of a new currency. And consider how this bird is like the phoenix, right? Rising from the ashes. And this year's NBA Finals featured the Phoenix Suns. In fact, Phoenix is even listed on this coin right here. Let's make this a little larger. See that it says Phoenix. And it's burning up the Bucks. So a lot of people interpreted this as a riddle for the Bucks burning up in the finals, but personally I never saw it that way. And notice the year, it even says 2018, 30 years after this thing was published. So they were pretty close. You know, of course this doesn't say 2021. That would have been a little too obvious. Now consider the last time the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Finals. It was in the year 1971. And 1971 was the year that the United States terminated the gold standard. August 15th, 1971. This was just a couple months after the Milwaukee Bucks won the championship. Now, there's a huge riddle going on with this year's Bretton Woods conference that suggests to me that absolutely we will be seeing some sort of big changes coming up in the near future. We'll get into this when we talk more about the Eclipse Code. But I want to talk about the Gematria of United States of America a little bit more. So as we mentioned, United States of America equals 929, just like the death date of Charles Antetokounmpo, 929. Notice the alphabetic ordinal value, 228 of United States of America. Back in December, the day after the 2020 total solar eclipse, Giannis Antetokounmpo signed a record $228 million contract. In the reverse alphabetic order, United States of America equals 339. Giannis, Sina, Ugo, and Antetokounmpo sums to 339 in the alphabetic order. By the way, Giannis's girlfriend is named Mariah Riddlespringer. And check out her name, 339, just like Giannis. And how strange is this name, Riddlespringer? I mean, we talk about how these are all numeric riddles, and his girlfriend is literally named Riddlespringer. You have to appreciate that her name equals 201, like how the Bucks won the NBA title on the 201st day of the year, the big Jesuit order number. Not going to get too deep into the Jesuit numerology. You guys know that's a big part of this. They are the chief conspirators behind this. Now, another thing I pointed out in my post here talking about Giannis is how he was born on December 6th or 12/6. And just before this season, the Bucks added All-Star Drew Holiday to the roster. And check out Drew Holiday's birthday, June 12th or 6/12. So these two men are connected with their dates of birth. And on the date that they won the championship, Drew Holiday was even 30 years and 39 days old, which is a tribute to this 339 number that's so big to Giannis. So, talking about the United States of America, if you just type in the word America, you get an alphabetic ordinal value of 50. And this stands out, of course, because America has 50 states. This was the first Bucks championship in 50 years. And to win the title, Giannis even scored exactly 50 points. Notice how his girlfriend Mariah has almost perfect overlap with America. And not only are they named the Bucks, which reminds us of the dollar and money, but the Bucks also play in Fiserv Forum. And Fiserv is short for financial services. Again, many financial services certain to be changing with this great reset that they're planning. So when Giannis's father died, he was 22 years old, which again is the value of basketball. He was also 68 days before his next birthday, and basketball equals 68. Giannis's basketball championship was won on a date with primary numerology of 68. In the alphabetic order, championship equals 131, and Giannis was born on a date with primary numerology of 131. By the way, this 131 and 68, I mentioned how the Bucks won on the anniversary of the moon landing. And look at the phrase, the eagle has landed, 131 and 68. Pretty wild stuff. So to celebrate his 50-point performance, Giannis curiously packed up his Finals MVP trophy and his NBA championship trophy and went to, well, where else would you go but Chick-fil-A? Now, Chick-fil-A is an establishment that's in the news way too frequently with all sorts of numeric riddles. And this seems to be another one. So Giannis goes and orders 50 chicken minis to celebrate. And I just want to point out how the number 50 has matching Gematria with Chick-fil-A, 69. And of course, we're talking about the moon landing, which occurred in the year 69, the same year that coach Mike Budenholzer was born. The phrase moon landing sums to 118 in the alphabetic order. Now, in order to reach the finals, Milwaukee scored 118 points to wrap up their series against the Hawks. And then in games 1 and 2, the Bucks gave up 118 points. If you go back to the 1971 NBA Finals, you'll see that the Bucks clinched the series in Game 4 by scoring You guessed it, 118 points. This number is significant to Milwaukee, which sums to 118 in Jewish Gematria. It's the largest city in Wisconsin, which sums to 118 in the reverse alphabetic order. And what really drives this riddle home is that the July full moon, which occurs today, the 23rd, is called the Buck Moon traditionally. And how strange is that? The Bucks becoming the first NBA team to win the championship in the month of July, which is the same month as the Buck Moon, winning on the anniversary of the moon landing. From the 1969 Apollo 11 mission to this year's finals was 52 years. Notice how Phoenix Suns equals 52. 52 seems to be loosely connected to the number 50 and the NBA, but I couldn't resist noting that the number 52 has ordinal gematria of 124. And, you know, I really should mention this. The date before the Bucks won the title, we had the death of a poker player at the age of 52. And think about how significant the number 52 is to poker. Of course, in poker, there's 52 cards in a deck. The phrase card game equals 52. And Lane Flack, who was 52 years old, died before the 52nd edition of the World Series of Poker. Jack Binion, who runs the tournament, born on the 52nd day of the year. This is all connected as well. So I made a few posts on the death of Lane Flack if anybody wants to check my blog out. Of course, the blog is always linked below. Lane Flack, his death was connected to another famous poker player, Chip Reese. And Chip Reese is widely considered to be the greatest cash game player of all time. Well, he died on the date December 4th, written 12-4. And again, the number 52 summing to 124. Also, 52nd anniversary summing to 124. And the Chick-fil-A that Giannis visited was on 124th and Capitol. So not only do you have the 124, but you also get the 52. 52 years since the moon landing. And yeah, I liked Lane Flack too. He seemed like a cool guy. Apparently, he had a lot of drug problems in his early days, or, you know, not even that long ago. Not sure whether or not he was murdered, but the code is there, man. It definitely is. All right, so shout out to Itachi in the chat who pointed out that Giannis's order was $62.56. I don't know if that's a coincidence. I mean, he just went up there and ordered what he ordered, right, with the 50 nuggets and a drink. But it did come out to $62. And think about how the word dollar equals 62. Deer District equals 62. The Milwaukee Bucks' Game 6 victory over the Suns was their 62nd win of the season. And it was the same day that the Buccaneers were at the White House. Think about Buccaneers, 62. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 62. And what about Great Reset? Also 62. Wow, Great Reset, also 118. Remember, this is the value of moon landing. So what does Giannis do? He goes to Chick-fil-A. And look at the gematria of Chick-fil-A, 62 in the alphabetic order. The Bucks play their home games in Fiserv Forum, where they clinch the championship. That sums to 62. And think about Giannis's order of chicken nuggets, a basketball player ordering nuggets. Doesn't that remind you of the NBA's Denver Nuggets, which also equals 62? Chick-fil-A also has overlap with Wisconsin, including the number 44. Giannis equals 44, so does Champions. The 44th prime number is 193. The word championship, which we looked at earlier, sums to 193. And check out how many wins Mike Budenholzer now has with the Milwaukee Bucks. A total of 193. Again, Milwaukee Bucks equals 48. Budenholzer won his 48th career postseason game with his 48th postseason game with the Bucks. He was even hired at the age of 48. So not only was it his 48th win in the postseason in his career, but it was also his 87th game. Would you believe that Milwaukee Bucks equals 87 as well? Look at that. All right, so before we get to the Eclipse Code, I want to point out the more obvious ritual that is the Devin Booker, quote, sacrifice. And Devin Booker was the perfect star for the Suns. And think about how our sun is, of course, a star. Now, Devin Booker is the son of a former NBA player, Melvin Booker. And he's one of less than 100 Suns to play in the NBA. There's only about 15 active players who are the son of a former NBA player. So it's not that common. Although his teammate Jay Crowder, his father also played in the NBA. Notice how the name Devin has overlap with Sun. Now, Devin Booker was the Suns' leading scorer in both the regular season and the postseason. So, Devin Booker's drastic drop-off in Game 6 was indeed a ritual. He missed all 7 of his three-point attempts after shooting lights out in Game 5. But then he just fell off a cliff. So again, the name Devin matches Sun in Gematria. Both of them have an ordinal value of 54. And Devin's 19 points in Game 6 was his lowest point total in 54 days. In Game 6, he scored only 19 points. And the number 19 is connected to the Sun through the Tarot's major arcana. The Sun is the 19th card of that major arcana. Consider the back of Booker's jersey. He wears number 1. 1 Booker equals 67, which is the 19th prime number. If you add 19 plus the 19th prime number, you get a value of 86. 19 equals 86 in the alphabetic order. And Booker's full name, Devin Armani Booker, equals 86 in reduction. We often talk about the magic square of the sun, and, there's never been less of a stretch to connect this to the Phoenix Suns. Now, the magic square sums to 666, because the square is made up of 36 squares, 666, the 36th triangular number. Devin Booker was born in the city of Grand Rapids, which equals 666. That's where his father played basketball at the time. And again, his father is Melvin Booker. And look at the gematria of Melvin Booker. 60 and 66. Like 666. The name Melvin Jermaine Booker sums to 216 in the alphabetic order. 216 is 6 times 6 times 6. So even before Booker was born, his family already had huge connections to 666. When you write out 666, you get a value of 2,083. This connected to pi, it's the 314th prime number. The moon equals 283. And check out the name Devin Armani Booker. 283 in the reverse alphabetic order. .283 is the 61st prime number. This number connects to Phoenix Suns. And Devin Booker scored a total of 601 points in the playoffs. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But where this riddle really gets wild is when you look at his age. So as we know, the sun is approximately an average of 93 million miles from the Earth. This is what's called an astronomical unit. On the night of Game 6, when the Suns were eliminated from the finals, Devin Booker was a span of exactly 9,030 days old. Of course, Christianity summing to 930. Adam lived to 930 years in the Bible. But this number we've been talking about in connection with coronavirus throughout the past year. Coronavirus also with an Sumerian value here of 930. And make no mistake about it, the coronavirus is 100% an occult numeric ritual connected to the two great American total solar eclipses that create an X over the United States. These eclipses are separated by 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days. And just to prove this to you, you add 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days to August 21st of 2017, and the date you get is April 8th, 2024, which is the date of the second great American total solar eclipse. Now, if you go to the exact halfway point between these eclipses, I wonder if this works. I don't think it will. Oh, it does. So if you go 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days after the eclipse, you get December 14th of 2020. That was the date of this past year's total solar eclipse, which went over Argentina. And Argentina is, of course, the home to Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope. And December 14th, 2020 is the first date on which the vaccine was administered. So my last video that I talked about the vaccine, I got deleted from YouTube, even though I told everybody it's not official medical advice. They took my video down anyway and threatened to strike. So I'm not going to talk about the vaccine, but you guys got to understand there's a lot more to it than just some silly virus going around. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? What a joke. But here's another thing that's really crazy about this 2020 total solar eclipse and why it's coded so amazingly. When you look at the moon calendar for 2020, check out December 14th, the new moon. This is the date of the eclipse. This eclipse began lunation number 1212. Total solar eclipse equals 1212. And again, it was in 2020, like the number 202. The year of the coronavirus pandemic, 220. President Donald John Trump was in office. His name is 220. Operation Warp Speed got the vaccines out quickly. That was 220. Don't forget, orthocoronavirinae is the official name of coronavirus. That even sums to 220. Booker is further coded alongside coronavirus. Check out the word corona, how it sums to 96. Devin Booker was born in the year 96. And corona has perfect gematria overlap with Booker. 66, 33, 30, 96. But then check out Devin Booker's birth numerology. 155 and 65. Coronavirus equals 155 and 65. So does the word pandemic. 65. And they even list Booker's height at 6'5". And I know this is kind of silly to look at someone's height for numerology, but understand these numbers are usually rounded. Nobody's really knows for sure if he's 6'3", 6'4", 6'6". In my last video, I did talk about Rob Calabrese. I talked about his weight being listed at 216. That was connected to the other Jets coach who died yesterday. That was Greg Knapp. Both of these men have the same birthday. They were both hired on the same date by the same team. And this guy's name equals 216. So there's definitely something to it. But moving on. Devin Booker's full name also has gematria of 103 in reverse reduction. And think about how this connects to his birthday. October 30th, written 1030. He was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which also equals 103. Now, if you take 13 squared, it sums to 169. Fiserv Forum. Oh, that's not 169. What was 169? I know there was one I came across. I forgot. For another time. Anyways, the series ended 16 months and 9 days after the start of the pandemic. It was also exactly 71 weeks, which is the value of the Phoenix Suns. So Devin Booker, the ultimate Sun Corona sacrifice. Again, the word Corona, really, that just means the atmosphere of the sun, and the corona is only visible during a total solar eclipse. So for those of you who doubt that this is some sort of numeric ritual put on for the masses, got a lot of learning to do. So with that part of the eclipse code solidified, let's talk about the big lunar eclipse riddle. And I first mentioned this back in December when Giannis Antetokounmpo signed his record contract with the Bucks. And this entire story was coded around the number 57. Now, the moon has a 57-degree range of declination. The word moon equals 57. And in ancient Hebrew, the word for eclipse equals 57. Notice how Greek freak equals 57. Milwaukee Bucks equals 57 with the S exception. And on the date that he signed his contract, Giannis was 26 years and 9 days old, like the number 269, which is the 57th prime number. So Giannis was born in the year 1994, connecting to total solar eclipse 994. He was born in Athens, which equals 67 and 22, just like total solar eclipse. Giannis Antetokounmpo in Greek isopsophy sums to 1778. The word eclipse equals 778 in isopsophy. And also in Greek, solar eclipse equals 126. That's a lot like his birthday, 12/6, December 6th. So this guy is so coded. And what really blew my mind when I reviewed my own decode, check this out. This is so crazy. When you open up the Greek calculator, or the Greek isopsophy cipher on my website, notice how Giannis's full name is 2602. 2602. Well, if you measure from Giannis's NBA debut on October 30th of 2013 to the date of this big significant total solar eclipse in 2020, it was exactly 2602 days. And then he signed his record-breaking contract the very next day. That is some wild stuff. So his 12/6 birthday, again, connects to Drew Holiday, born on the 12th of June, or 12/6. And what I really should do, I'm going to remind myself to do this. I have to link to a post on Rambo's Corner. He did a magnificent post on the number 612 and its connection to the heart. And consider how the word heart equals 52. This was the 52nd anniversary of the moon landing. So we get two all-star players with 612 birthdays winning the championship. So this is the year 2021. And I believe this connects loosely to Revelation, which has a final verse of 22:21. And in Revelation 6:12, this number I've been talking about, this verse mentions both a solar and lunar eclipse. The sun becoming black as a sackcloth of hair, and the moon becoming as blood. So a black sun and a red moon, those are both eclipse references. Now, if you write out the gematria of this verse, this comes out of the King James Bible, commissioned by King James and the Freemasonic lodges back in the early 1600s. This verse has gematria of 526 and 2210. And this year's total lunar eclipse fell on the date 5/26/2021. So for months I've been talking about the significance of this lunar eclipse, right? Well, if you measure from the date of that eclipse to the Bucks championship, it was a span of 56 days. The word Bucks equals 56. And again, the full moon, which occurred a couple days after the Bucks win, is called the Buck Moon. I believe this riddle really comes together when you type out total lunar eclipse. So, Suns coach Monty Williams lost his 68th career game with the Phoenix Suns in Game 6. 68. And the game took place on a date with primary numerology of 68. Again, the word championship is 68, just like basketball. But notice how the phrase total lunar eclipse has this 68 gematria as well. The Suns were down by 13 points after the first quarter, which is the reverse reduction value of total lunar eclipse. At the end of the third quarter, the score was tied 77-77. Total lunar eclipse with the S exception, 77. And then finally, the game ended the game ended with a total of 203 points, which is the ordinal value of the same phrase. There were only 89 points at halftime, by the way. The Bucks equaling 89 in ordinal. The phrase lunar eclipse even has gematria of 533, and the Bucks championship at Fiserv Forum fell 5 years and 33 days after the groundbreaking at that arena. A couple more interesting things. Total eclipse equals 227 in Hebrew. Giannis was 227 days after his birthday on the date of the championship. And their championship parade was held yesterday, the 22nd of July, written 22/7. Shout out to the chat. They want to remind me of the Kobe Bryant connection, which is very strong here as well. Remember, Kobe Bryant died on 1/26, which, again, looks like Giannis' birthday of 12/6. If you measure back to Giannis' last birthday, it would have been 1 month. Was it 1 month, 2 weeks, and 6 days? Oh, yeah, it's the 6th. Yeah, so Kobe died on 1/26, which falls 1 month, 2 weeks, and 6 days after 12/6. Speaking of Revelation, think about how wormwood equals 126. And the Bible verse that mentions wormwood is 8:11. So yeah, the verse that talks about wormwood is 1377. Look at Drew Holiday, 1377. Just wild Revelation connection. So, I've been telling everybody all year, the Bucks look really good for the championship this year, and, here you have it, another Revelation riddle. And for those of you who think it might be a coincidence, I invite you to check out my video on the Gonzaga championship game against Baylor. There was another significant Revelation riddle in that game regarding perfection as well. I will try to remember to link that video too. All right. So, perhaps one of the most obvious connections with the eclipse code here is just the gematria of Milwaukee Bucks. 156, 222, 57 with the S exception. In Hebrew, the word for eclipse equals 156 and 57. And in English, eclipse equals 222. Remember, an eclipse always occurs 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases after the last eclipse. The 156th prime number is 911. That's the Greek value for total eclipse. Bucks coach Mike Budenholzer was hired 9 months and 11 days after his birthday, and then he won the NBA championship 1,160 days later, which is, of course, an upside-down 9/11. The 911th prime number is 7109. Game 1 of the NBA Finals was Coach Budenholzer's 719th career game. And then he went on to win the title one day after 719. All right, we're getting close to wrapping up this video here. Do I think we're living in the last days? No, I think that the dark occult, the priest class that's running these organizations, again, I constantly go back to this. What is the purpose of all these numeric rituals, right? They are attempting to manipulate our consciousness. Very few people understand how powerful our minds are. But really, all you need to see to understand how powerful they are is how hard these people work to manipulate it. Because they understand that, there's spiritual laws in this realm, and they have to get you to agree to go along with something. And if everybody in the world believes that we're in end times, yeah, maybe then we are in end times. So that might be the goal of this. And that's not to say the end of the world necessarily, but, perhaps there could be a lot of death through, and death manifests itself in a number of ways. A lot of people talk about the phrase being scared to death. That's a real thing. And I'm not going to get into the COVID part of this because, again, YouTube has been starting to take my videos down because of that. But when you put someone in a room by themselves for weeks, tell them they have a deadly disease, isolate them from family members, that's pretty scary, right? Scare them to death. So, I definitely think the Revelation riddles are stronger now than they've ever been. Just look at the Gematria of Revelation, 1010 and 850. And here we are in the era of COVID-19, which is 1010 and 850. And they're never going to call this COVID-20 or 21 because the Gematria doesn't line up. It's going to stay COVID-19. In the alphabetic order, Revelation equals 121, and the first case of COVID-19 was diagnosed on December 1st, written 12/1. The first time it was found in the United States was January 21st, written 121. They have certainly coded the numbers of Revelation all over this event to an absurd degree. And on my channel, I made a video last April of 2020, talking about this and how all these organizations, the World Health Organization, the CDC, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the NIH, all coded with the numbers 666. And I warned people in that video, hey, there's going to be a mandatory vaccination policy that they want to push. And that was before anybody was even talking about a vaccine at the time, because there's never been a vaccine for a coronavirus. And there still is no vaccine for a coronavirus. Remember, real vaccines inject dead versions of the virus into your body so that your body learns how to fight it. This vaccine manipulates your DNA and retrains it. So, I'm supposed to shut up. I forgot. Whatever. All right, a couple more things that I wanted to point out before I go. So, we talked about the magic square of the sun, the Phoenix Suns. Remember, Game 6 equals 666. So does the NBA Finals 666. And when you write out 666 in the alphabetic order, you get this value of 275. And Devin Booker had his lowest point total in Game 6 since the 27th of May, or 27/5. Again, connecting to 666. This game was Mike Budenholzer's 275th career game with the Bucks. And in this game, they prevented Monty Williams from getting his 275th career win. See that? 666 is the number of the beast. And in Jewish Gematria, number of the beast equals 724. Game 6 of the NBA Finals was Mike Budenholzer's 724th career game coached. Now, there's a couple of other numbers I skipped over. The 423, this was Budenholzer's 423rd career win. It was on the anniversary of the moon landing. The moon equals 423. Furthermore, it was his 31st postseason win with the Bucks. He's also still at 301 career losses. Using capital letters, Milwaukee Bucks has this 31 Gematria as well. So everything is synced up. It's all connected. Professional sports, just elements of the Jesuit order, the high-end Freemasonic lodges, all connecting through D.C., through the Vatican and Rome. It's the bread and circus of the masses, professional sports, keeping people distracted from the real issues in the world, which is that, our money is getting devalued. They're lying about whatever virus is going around, whatever disease is really happening. The erection of 5G all over the world, just happening to coincide with all of this. And let's remember the 2019 Military World Games in Wuhan, China. And how strange is it that Wuhan is, of course, where the virus broke out. And Wuhan is in Hubei, China. Hubei is the same province that the Black Death plague broke out in 1331. The opening ceremonies for the Military World Games was held on October 18th of 2019. On that very, very same date, October 18th, 2019, there was a coronavirus pandemic exercise held by the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Wuhan, China is also where 5G technology was first rolled out. So for anyone to look at this and think there's no connection, that this is all just a coincidence, these are the same morons who think that, NORAD drills simulating planes crashing into the World Trade Center on the morning of 9/11 is also a coincidence. These things are not coincidence. This is world government in action. Now, fortunately, these people are leaving clues so that not everybody falls for it. Now, granted, I don't think I would have fallen for it anyway, but clearly there's something greater going on. And make no mistake about it, 5G has something to do with coronavirus or whatever disease people are really suffering. They're calling it coronavirus, but is it really a contagious virus? I've heard so many stories from people who were in close contact with people, whether it was sharing a bed, sharing a car ride for several hours, who never caught the virus from someone who had it. And then people who both have it have completely different symptoms. I could go on, but again, I'm putting myself at risk for medical misinformation. And of course, I'm no doctor. I'm not an expert. Why anybody would take medical advice from me, sitting here running numbers anyway, is pretty hilarious, but apparently it's something YouTube is worried about, But everybody who watches this channel pretty much knows what's going on anyway. Not worried about that. So, I was going to wrap up the stream, but there's been some activity in the chat. So, thanks for people popping in. Shout out to Case, new to the channel. Yeah, I mean, this decode, of course I killed it. I kill every decode. I invite you to check all my videos. Um, I don't, at risk of sounding a little arrogant, my Gematria videos are out of this world good. They're amazing. I don't make a video unless my own mind has been blown during the process. So, yeah, I mean, this is the deep end of the pool, no doubt about it. There's other channels that will give you more basic riddles that'll focus on the simple things. I don't do that here. I go into astrology. I go into the eclipse code. We talk about the planets, the tarot, the magic squares. It's all connected, and what's great is that it's so consistent. The methods I use, the techniques I use are across the board pretty much the same in every video. Someone asking, can a Christian use this info to his information? Well, so, we live in a world full of a lot of hatred towards spirituality, religion, and Christianity. Me, myself, am I religious? I wouldn't say that I'm religious. These churches, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, these are the approved religions that the masses are to practice. And, even the Bible itself has been marred by man. The Bible will suggest that people should not look into knowledge like this, but when you do look into this part of knowledge, it becomes very clear what's happening in the world, and this makes it easier to wake people up who are on that path. Now, I can go up to a lot of people and start talking about numerology, even very basic stuff, and probably a majority of them are not going to be interested. They're not going to get it. They're just going to move on with their life. But for those who are already suspicious about what they see happening in the world and what's going on, then it opens their eyes to something completely obvious. It's kind of like confirmation of what they already suspected. Now, on this channel, I do a fair amount of discussion about the quote-unquote organic matrix. In fact, yesterday, I made a post exploring this with the death of an F1 driver. And I challenge anyone to try and convince me that the death of this race car driver was somehow scripted or planned by man. There's no way. And this was an event that was foreseen, in a way, by another Gematria blogger whose posts I linked in this post. And basically, he picked up on a big riddle with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and August 31st and the country of France. And then we get the death of a French Formula 2 driver on August 31st. And again, why is numerology so significant to the dark cult, to the priest class? Because they understand that reality truly does manifest by the numbers. And if their propaganda, if their lies go out with a similar wavelength or vibrational energy to what reality is already manifesting, then it's going to have more power over the consciousness. I've been doing this research for over 5 years now, and I have no doubt that that's what this is. That's what's happening. This is an attempt at magic, ritual magic. It really is. So by putting these stories about Dale Earnhardt out before this accident, were they attempting magic? Was it a coincidence, a synchronicity? Or, the really far out there stuff, did they actually know that this man was going to die on this date and then put these stories out as a tribute? There's a lot of different theories about it, but that's kind of what's so cool about this study is that, we all have our own different takes on it. I think it's clear that, we have organizations that are, again, manipulating this code, feeding us propaganda. Ultimately, they want us to feel fear. That's the true goal of this, is getting people in a fearful state. And the best example of that recently was this July 17th shooting outside Nationals Park. And this shooting was coded with the number 107. Shooting is 107. It was on a Saturday, 107. The game was suspended, 107. Washington Nationals equals 107. The shooting was at the Washington Nationals ballpark 107 days after the start of the MLB season. And it might even be 107 days before the end of the season if the World Series ends in Game 5. But again, this ritual, which sent people in the stands scrambling for cover, I feel like we should watch this video real quick. All right, so in this video, you see a bunch of people scrambling for cover. And what you see here is a microcosm of the coronavirus pandemic, right? Some of these people are panicked for their lives. They're convinced there's like a sniper in the crowd that's shooting them. Look at all these people running. Meanwhile, like the other half of the stadium is just sitting there chilling, right? And think about how people reacted to the coronavirus pandemic. A lot of people went out there with like full hazmat suits and masks, face shields, all this stuff. And then a lot of other people just sat by and just kind of watched the whole thing go down. And that's what you're seeing here too, you know? It's really interesting, but this incident was staged by the Jesuit order, no doubt about it. My post breaks this down. Even the game before it was coded with numbers of the Jesuit order through the cycle with this player. Again, check my blog out for more. But again, striking fear in the public. That's what this is all about. And would you believe that the Washington Nationals vice president for public safety, who was quoted in the news article, his name is Scott Fear. Really? Scott Fear? And look at the ordinal value of Scott Fear. 107. So, how obvious is it that this is literally priest class spell casting through the broadcast medium of the mainstream? All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. Again, all my work is free to share if you wish. Next week, if you wish to support this work, there is a donate link, but next month I'll be launching the Patreon as I seek to do this more full-time. And, you know, the more time I spend on this, the better we'll get, the better we'll get at forecasting things ahead of time. So, you know, you don't have to. I'm still going to make videos. I'm still going to make posts. I'll still be around. You know, information will still be free, but a lot of people have reached out wanting to support it, and that'll be possible very soon. So, thanks again to everybody. Shout out to everyone in the chat, whether you're watching live or archives. I appreciate the love. All right, guys, talk to you next time. See ya.